In this video, we'll go through exam questions that cover the criteria read, write, order and compare common fractions and mixed numbers. You can locate the questions on the mathsmaths.com website under level 1. The questions come from different exam boards. We'll start with the non-calculated questions and then we'll move to the calculated questions. Here's the first one. Boarding kennels look after cats and dogs. Linda is setting up a boarding kennel business. She researches other kennels and finds that 3/8 of kennels take dogs only, 2/5 of kennels take cats only. Linda thinks that more kennels take dogs only than take cats only. Is she correct? Show how you decide. So it's a case of comparing the two fractions. So we've got 3/8 and 2/5. Obviously, these are split into different sizes of slices, so we need to cut these two into an equal number of slices. So we've got the first one being cut into 8 and the second one being cut into 5. What could be a number that they have, or a multiple that they have in common? That could be 40, because 8 times 5 is 40. So if I cut this into 40, then the highlighted area will be equal to 15. Because to get from 8 to 40, I've multiplied by 5. So to get from 3 to this number, I need to multiply by 5 as well. That's why it's 15. And similarly, the 2/5 that we have, to get from 5 to 40, I've multiplied by 8. So I'll multiply 2 by 8 as well to get 16. Now we can compare which one is greater. 16/40 is greater than 15/40. 16/40, that is 2/5. So that's the kennels that take cats only. Linda thinks that more kennels take dogs only than take cats only. Is this correct? No, it's not. Also, to clarify, you don't need to draw these circles, pies, pizzas, whatever you want to call them. I've just drawn them to help you understand. But if it helps you, feel free to draw them even in the exam. So we've got another question. 5 and 2/5 is the same as. So we need to turn that into a fraction. From a mixed number into a fraction. An improper fraction. So it's top heavy, as are all mixed numbers. So 5 and 2/5. So there will be 2 slices here. There are 5 in this one, 5 in this one, 5 and 5, because we cut them all into equal number of slices and equal size as well. So we have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 27/5. 27 of these slices. You can also multiply 5 by 5 to give you 25 and then add the 2. 16 and 2/3 is the same as 18/3, 50/3 32 thirds, or 48 thirds. Okay, so the short method I just went through was multiplying the bottom number of the fraction, the denominator, by the whole number. So that in this case is 16 times 3. 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times 1 is 3, and the 1, that is 4. So we have 48. Now we need to add the top number of the fraction. That's 2. So 48 add 2, that gives us 50. So 50 thirds. That's option B. Which of these lists of fractions and mixed numbers is in order from smallest to largest? Okay, so looking at the first row, we've got 2 1/4, then we have 1 3/4, then we have 3/4, and then 1 1/4. So the first one is the largest because it's 2 whole ones and 1/4. Then the second one is 1 3/4, so definitely not one of the smallest. And also this one, 1 1/4, that is more than 1. Whereas this fraction here, 3/4, that is the smallest because it's less than 1. As we're starting from the smallest, that should be the first. So option C and D have that as the first. Now looking at the second number, should it be 1 1/4 or should it be 1 3/4? So 1 1/4 is definitely smaller than 1 3/4. So 1 3/4 should come after that, and then finally 2 1/4. Write these fractions in order from smallest to largest. Write the answer in the box below. So we've got half, 7/8, 3/4, 2/8. So half is the first one. Then we have 7/8, which is over a half, which is larger than a half. And also 3/4 is larger than a half, whereas 2/8 is smaller than a half. 4/8 would have been a half, so this is smaller than a half. So this is the smallest of them all. So 2/8. Then to come half. Then either 7/8 or 3/4. Which one of them? Let's convert them so that we have the same denominator at the bottom, and that can be 8. So 7/8 and 3/4. To get from 4 to 8, we've doubled the 4, so we'll double the 3 as well to get 6. So now we can clearly see that 6/8 is smaller than 7/8. So 6/8 will come after the half. So that is 3/4, which is the same as 6/8, and then 7/8. Write these fractions in order from smallest to largest. So we've got 3/4, 3/8, 1/8, and 1/4. Write the answer in the box below. As we've got them all with denominators being 4 or 8, we're going to convert them all with the denominator of 8. So to get from 4 to 8, we've doubled, so we've got to double the 3 as well. So 3/4 is the same as 6/8. 3/8, we can just write it as it is, and 1/8 as well. And 1/4, we've doubled the 4, so we're going to double the 1. and that will be 2. Now we can easily put them in order, starting with the smallest. So the smallest of them all will be 1/8. Then we will have 2/8, which is written as 1/4. Then we'll have 3/8. Then 6/8, which is written as 3/4. From now on, we can use a calculator. Write 3/60 as a fraction in its simplest form. So we've got 3 and 60. We need to find a number that we can divide both by, so by the same number. 3, you don't have much choice, it's only 3 you can divide by to get a whole number, which is 1. So 3 divided by 3 gives us 1. 60 divided by 3 gives us 20. But if you're unsure about that, you can use a calculator to divide 60 by 3 and it gives you 20. Another thing you can use a calculator for to check whether you've done this correctly is to do 3 divided by 60, because you know the fraction line means division, and that gives us 0.05. If I do 1 divided by 20, does it give me the same number? It does. So that shows that we've done this correctly. And we can't divide any further because we've got 1 there at the top. Shaz will share the money she raises between 3 charities. So Shaz is raising some money for charity. She gives a local hospice 2/5 of the money. She gives Save the Children 1/4 of the money. She gives Age Concern 7/20 of the money. Which charity will get the most money? Show how you decide. So it's a case of comparing the fractions. We've got 2/5, 1/4, and 7/20. So let's convert them so they all have the same denominator. Looking at 5 and 4, 5 times 4 is 20, and this is 20 as well, so we can use 20. So to get from 5 to 20, we multiply by 4, so we do the same to the top number. 2 times 4 is 8. Quarter, from 4 to 20, we multiply it by 5, so we do the same to the top number, so that is 5. 7/20, that is already as we need it, with a denominator of 20 and comparable to the other fractions. So we're looking for the charity that will get the most money. So we're looking for the highest top number, as all these denominators now are the same. So we've got 8, 5 and 7. This is the highest. So 2/5, that is the local hospice. Greg already has 2 round cake tins. He thinks he could use one of those and put a picture of a dinosaur on the top. Tin A will need 3/5 of the cake mix recipe. Tin B will need 2/3 of the cake mix recipe. Which tin will need the smaller amount of cake mix? Show your working. So the question relates to a previous question, which is not here. However, the context is not as important in this case, because all you need to do is compare the 2 fractions. You're looking for the smaller amount. So we've got 3/5 and 2/3. So a common denominator would be 15, because 5 times 3 is 15. To get from 5 to 15, we multiply by 3, so we'll do the same to the top number. 3 times 3, that is 9. To get from 3 to 15, we multiply by 5, so we'll do the same to the top number. 2 times 5, that is 10. Can we compare these two now? Definitely 10 fifteenths is greater than 9 fifteenths. So 2/3 is greater than 3/5. But we're looking for the smaller amount. So that is 3/5. And that is tin A. Which one of these fractions is the biggest number? 4/10, 3/4, 2/5, or 1/3? Now, we can compare the fractions by finding common denominators, or finding equivalent fractions in here. But we can use a calculator, so the easiest thing to do is to convert these into decimals. And we know that the fraction line means division, so 4/10, that will be 4 divided by 10, which is 0.4. 3/4, that is 3 divided by 4, which is 0.75. 2/5, 2 divided by 5, which is 0.4. And 1/3, that is 1 divided by 3, which is 0.333. Which one is the biggest? That is 0.75, which is 3/4. Another way you can look at this is that 4/10, that is less than half, because half would be 5/10. 2/5, again, that is less than half, because half of 5 is 2.5. And also 1/3 is less than half, because half of 3 is 1.5. So 3/4 is the only one that is more than half. So that is the highest fraction. Write 33/8 as a mixed number. So you can imagine cakes split into 8 equal slices. "33 slices. How many full cakes, whole cakes would that make? So 8, 16, 24, 32, and then you have one more slice here. So it's 4 and 1/8. Put these fractions in order of size. Start with the smallest. So we've got 3/8, a half, a quarter, 5/16. Write your answer in the box below. So if we make half our reference, 3/8 is less than a half, because 4/8 would be a half, and a quarter is less than a half. 5/16 would also be less than a half. So that tells us that half is the largest number, the largest fraction, which is also a number. So half will be the last one. Now to compare between 3/8, a quarter, and 5/16. 8, 4, 16. They're all multiples of 4, so they are in the 4's times tables, in other words. So what I can do is make this largest number the denominator. So 16, 16, 16. To get from 8 to 16, I've doubled, so I'm going to double the 3 as well to make 6. To get from 4 to 16, I've multiplied by 4, so I'm going to multiply the 1 by 4 as well to get 4. No change, or multiplied by 1 from 16 to 16. So I'll do the same to the top one. So now we can easily compare. So which one of these is the smallest? That's 4/16, which is a quarter. And then come 5/16, which is written as 5/16 here as well. And then we've got 6/16, which is written as 3/8. And then finally the half, which is 8/16. Put these fractions in order from largest to smallest. These are fractions and mixed numbers, in fact. So we've got 18/24, 12/8, 1 3/4, 1 1/4. 18/24, that is less than 1. So that is the smallest out of these, because 12/8, that's more than 1. 8/8 would be 1, so 12/8 is more than 1. That is in fact 1 1/2, because if you take away 8 from the 12, you're left with 4. So 4/8, that's a half. So this is 1 1/2. 18/24, that's the smallest, as we said earlier. So that would be the last number. Comparing these three. So we've got 1 1/2, 1 3/4, 1 1/4. 1 1/4 is the smallest of them all. So that would come right before 18/24. Now the next smallest one would be 1 1/2, and then we have 1 3/4. So now they are in order from the largest to the smallest. Write these fractions in order, starting with the smallest. As we can use a calculator, I'm just going to convert them into decimals. So 7/10, so that is 7 divided by 10, which gives us 0.7. 3/4, hopefully you know that this is 0.75, so 3 divided by 4 gives us 0.75. And also 2/3, that is 2 divided by 3, which is 0.67. The smallest of them all, that is 0.67, because it has 6 here, whereas this one is 7 and this one is 7. So the fraction, that is 2/3. And then the next one will be 0.7, because you can imagine a 0 there, whereas 3/4 or 0.75 has a 5 instead of a 0. So 7/10 will be next, and then 3/4, the last one. And this is the end of the questions.